In this lesson, we will explore how to find the least common multiple, or LCM for short. Multiples are the numbers you get by multiplying a set number by any other number. For instance, if we wanted to find the multiples of 3, what we would have to do is use 3 as our set number and multiply 3 by every other number to find the multiples. Now, when we talk about numbers here, I'm talking about positive integers, which means that the numbers that we're going to be working with are going to be positive, and they can't have any fractions or decimals. So when I want to find the multiples of 3, I have to multiply 3 by every positive integer, starting with 1. 3 times 1 is 3. Then we move to 3 times 2, which is 6. Then 3 times 3, which is 9. 3 times 4, 12. 3 times 5, 15. And you can keep going. We could do 3 times 6 and 3 times 7 and keep going as far as we need to go. Another way to think of listing multiples is by counting by the number you're finding the multiples of. So we can count by 3's. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. And you could keep going again as far as you need to go. Now, a number that would help illustrate the counting method would be if I want to list the multiples of 5. It's pretty easy to count by 5's. Counting by 5's, you get 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And again, you could keep going. Notice that this is the exact same as result that we'll get if we use the method of multiplying 5 by every other number. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 5 and 5 times 6 are also on the list. So no matter which method you choose to use, you will get the same list of numbers in the list of multiples. Now, let's say that we were trying to find the least common multiple of 3 and 5. We've already taken care of the first part, finding the multiples. We've listed the multiples of 3, and we've listed the multiples of 5. The next thing we have to take care of is finding the multiples that they have in common, which means the multiples that are on both lists, multiples that are the same in for both 3 and 5. So as I skim through the list of multiples of 3, I see that 3 is not on the list of multiples of 5, nor is 6, 9, or 12. None of these first 4 numbers are on the list of multiples of 5. However, I do notice that 15 is on both lists. 15 is a multiple of 3, and 15 is a multiple of 5. I can keep going. 18 is not on the other list, nor is 21, 24, or 27, but 30 is also on both lists. So on the list that we've created, we've found 2 multiples that are in common on the list of multiples of 3 and 5. So we have 2 common multiples on our lists. This is where the first letter, the L, comes into play. This tells us that we want to find the least common multiple, which means the smallest number that they have in common. So in this case, we can see that the least common multiple, the smallest number that's the same on both lists, is 15. So the least common multiple of 3 and 5 is 15. Let's use this example, or this idea, to take another example. Let's find the least common multiple of 4 and 6. We're going to employ the exact same strategy. We're going to create 2 lists. We're going to first list the multiples of 4, and then we're going to list the multiples of 6. Here will be the multiples of 4, and these will be the multiples of 6. Again, you have 2 methods that you can use to find multiples. You can either count by, in this case, 4's, or you can take 4 times every other number. So let's do this by listing 4 times each other number. Starting with 1, 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 5 is 20. It's generally good to go out to about 5 or 6 numbers to start, and then start listing the multiples of the next number and do 4 or 5 numbers of those and see if you can find a common multiple. So let's go ahead and start with the multiples of 6. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. And 6 times 5 is 30. Once you have your list, you can go through the first list, smallest number first. That'll help you find the least common multiple, and see if it's on the other list. 4 is not on the list of multiples of 6, neither is 8. However, 12 is both a multiple of 4 and a multiple of 6, and since we started from the smallest number, we've ensured that it will be the least common multiple of the two. So that means that the least common multiple of 4 and 6 is 12. Now let's consider how to find the least common multiple of 5 and 9. The same strategy can be used. We'll list the multiples of 5 and the multiples of 9. Again, what we'll do is we will list the first 5 multiples of each of these and see if we have a multiple that's in common. So let's do this. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3, 15. 5 times 4, 20. 5 times 5, 25. So we've got a list of 5 there. Now let's go ahead and list 5 multiples of 9 and see if we have any in common yet. 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 3 is 27. 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 5 is 45. We've listed multiples of 5 and multiples of 9. Now let's see if there are any multiples that are in common on both lists. 5 is not a multiple of 9. 10 is not. 15 is not. 20 is not. And 25 is not on this list either. We have no common multiples yet, which means that we have to keep going. So let's continue. We left off in this list with 5 times 5. Let's move on to 5 times 6, and 5 times 7, and 5 times 8, and 5 times 9. Now we could continue the list of multiples of 9 as well. However, in this case, it's not necessary. If you look at both lists, we can now see that there is a common multiple on both of the lists. 30 is not on both lists, 35 is not, and 40 is not. However, 45 is a multiple of both 5 and 9. And since we considered all the smaller multiples of 5 first, that means that it must be the least common multiple of 5 and 9. Sometimes you'll have to extend the lists out much further. Sometimes you won't have to extend the lists out very far at all. It just depends on the two numbers, and you just have to go out as far as you need to go to find the common multiple. Now it is possible to find a least common multiple of more than 2 numbers. Let's consider this example. This time we want to find the least common multiple of 3, 4, and 9. If you're looking for the least common multiple of more than 2 numbers, you'll need more than 2 lists of multiples. So this means that we'll need to list multiples of 3, multiples of 4, and multiples of 9. We're going to do this in the exact same way. 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3, 3 times 4, 3 times 5. And we can go ahead and list the first 5 of each of these to start with. So we can do 4 times 1, 4 times 2, 4 times 3, 4 times 4, and 4 times 5. And 9 times 1, 9 times 2, 9 times 3, 9 times 4, and 9 times 5. We can look at each of these lists and notice that 3 is not a multiple of 4, neither is 6, and neither is 9. So these 3 aren't going to be on the list of multiples of 4, so it's not going to be a common multiple. However, 12 is a multiple of 4. However, it's not a multiple of 9, so we can't use 12. And 15 is not on the other lists either. This means that we must keep going. So we left off at 3 times 5. Let's do 3 times 6, 3 times 7, 3 times 8, 3 times 9, and 3 times 10. And we'll need to extend out our list of 4s as well here. So we left off at 4 times 5, so let's do 4 times 6, 4 times 7, 4 times 8, and 4 times 9. Alright, now we've noticed that we've gone all the way up to 30 on the multiples of 3. Since we've gone past 30 on the other two lists, we can continue on with checking off to see if we have any common multiples. 18 is not a multiple of 4. Neither is 21. 24 is a multiple of 3 and 4, but not a multiple of 9. 27 won't work, neither will 30. So we still have to keep going. Go to 3 times 11, which is 33, and 3 times 12, which is 36. Notice what happens once I hit 36. 36 is a multiple of 3, 4, and 9. Since 36 is found on all 3 lists, 36 is the least common multiple of 3, 4, and 9.